Hi everyone, welcome to Ask the Egg Whisperer. Thank you guys for submitting your questions. I have so many questions, I had to hop on tonight. If you want to figure out how to ask a question, it's really easy. Go to asktheeggwhisperer.com and it's as simple as putting your question in there. So I'm excited to answer all your questions tonight. So thank you guys for joining me. So this question is from Ashley. Hi Ashley, and thank you for sending in your question tonight. Hi doctor, I'm ashamed to say that I'm a former smoker. 2 to 3 packs a week from age 19 to 33. I'm now 39 and I've been smoke-free for 6.5 years, not a single puff. Did I cause irreparable damage to my egg quality from that time, or has my 6 years of good behavior made up for it a little? My AMH is 1.7, E2 59, FSH 4.7, LH 3.55. Thank you so much. Okay, so here's the deal. It is true that cigarettes are egg killers. And women who smoke for an extended period of time, we know from research studies that they go into menopause sooner. But listen up. Your AMH is 1.7. That's pretty phenomenal at 39. So get in there, be as aggressive as you feel comfortable being, keep taking your CoQ10 and let that stuff go. Just let it go. Don't shame yourself for the stuff that you did when you were in your 20s and early 30s, and just realize that you're just pretty darn lucky that right now you have excellent ovarian reserve. We know that age is the most reliable predictor of pregnancy over any of these levels. Anyone who's been a patient of mine who's done IVF, for example, with lots of eggs, and I know you're out there, who's then gone on to not have a healthy pregnancy despite having a lot of eggs, knows that we've learned it the hard way together. So at the end of the day, don't take anything for granted. Don't take your age for granted, and go in there and make some embryos, especially depending on how many kids you want. You want to be as aggressive as you feel comfortable being, especially if you want 2 kids and you're starting off right now. You want to freeze eggs, freeze embryos, or do both right now, and then go back maybe in 2 years and have another baby. So you want to freeze eggs. Do that now when you're 39. Okay, next question is from Jackie. Hi, Jackie. This is your question. Thank you so much for sending it in. I tried IVF but only had 3 follicles. I didn't take the right medicine. I'm 43 years old. Do you think it would be possible to have more follicles and improve the quality of my eggs after 3 months of being on no wheat, no sugar, no dairy diet, plus an Oval-Wise supplement kit? I have a daughter who I conceived naturally. She is 5. Okay, 43 minus 5 is what? Okay. So that's pretty cool that you were able to have a pregnancy over the age of 36. But this is the thing. At 43, the likelihood of having a healthy pregnancy is less than 10%. Could you be one of those lucky people that can do it? Yes. So my general rule is 3 follicles or more for me means good chance of pregnancy with IVF at the age of 43. And you're probably looking at me like, huh? Good? 3 eggs? Each egg, if it turns into an embryo, has only about a 10 to 15% chance of being genetically normal. That's not a whole lot, but guess what? Your chances are soon going to be 0 and your eggs are going to be gone, right? That's the truth. That's the reality for all of us. I don't think your fertility is skin deep. I don't think it has anything to do with your wheat or sugar or anything like that. You're either just going to be lucky or not, but certainly I just want you to live the healthiest lifestyle possible and do what you can to be fit, feel good about your body, find joy in every day, because I can tell you that infertility sucks the joy out of you, okay? I try and make IVF, patients of mine think that IVF is very fun, but at the end of the day, it's Friday, so I say is very effed up. Just kidding. But sometimes it is. When you go through the entire cycle and it doesn't work, it is so annoying. So I'm right there with you. But at 43 with 3 follicles, I would totally go for it. Okay. So this question is from Czar. Czar asks, hi, Dr. Aimee. I hope you're doing great. And thank you for what you do. So that's very sweet. Thank you. I live in Europe, so I did my lab tests here, and here are my results. AMH 9, TSH 3, T4 13, anti-TPO 50, FSH 8, LH 4, prolactin 156, estradiol 0.1. You guys, these are different units than here in the US. The doctor found 3 follicles on the right, 3 on the left, so that's a total follicle count of 6. I know, I can add 3 plus 3. Yay me. My husband's sperm analysis is normal. Let's get to the good stuff. I'm 40 years old. Do you think I still have a chance to be pregnant with my own eggs? And I would say yes, with a follicle. Sorry, that was kind of loud. Yes. With a follicle count of 6, let me tell you, at 40, go for it. Don't let anyone tell you it should be 15. Oh my God, I hear that stuff and I'm like, eye roll, please. Really? Like, you're going to tell a 40-year-old that she really should have a follicle count of 15? That is so mean, because guess what? It is normal not to have eggs at 40. Like, that's normal. It is normal to start going through that M word, that dirty word that's around here that we never say, which is menopause. but it's a normal part of ovarian aging. It's normal for that to happen at 40. So the fact that you still have that number of follicles, and I did the math a second ago and I can't remember that number. I think it was 6 or 8. Survey says 6. So what that means to me is that your menopause is a long ways away, and go for it. My BMI is 35. Do you think this is one of the reasons I'm not getting pregnant? We've been trying for 7 months. What will you do if I'm your patient? Okay, this is the thing. BMI of 35. Guess what? Like, your eggs don't care that your BMI is 35. My approach is this. Don't BMI shame yourself. You know, what other people say things to patients, and I'm just like, no. You don't have time to sit there and be like, I'm going to wait until my BMI is 28 or something silly like that. Like, just keep showing up, keep being as aggressive as you feel comfortable being. And at the same time, do what you can to maintain a healthy lifestyle. For me, it's not about BMI. It's about your blood pressure, about your cholesterol, about your blood sugar, your testosterone, your lipids. Get it? See? Like, check all that stuff out and then balance that. And then over time, the weight stuff will take care of itself too. Okay? So I hope that helps. So this next question is from Karen. Karen asked, my husband just has bad morphology, but a few times he didn't. We did ICSI, and my tested 5 embryos are still intact. I'm not sure what that means, but we'll find out more here. When I said failed FET, I meant my uterus lining would not grow. It would look good with 3 layers, but would never get past 6 millimeters. Or it would look nice, but then not later. First vet, 4, then 6 estrogen pills and 2 patches. That's a heck of a lot of estrogen. Second vet, vitamin E, steroids, baby aspirin, and vasodilator, and 6 estrogen pills. Before both vets, I was on birth control pills for a while. That's a clue, guys. It's just not growing. My HSG was normal. The uterus itself is fine. And my biopsy just came back normal. Of all those tests that we've done, all except going inside with a camera is the only thing I haven't done yet. Now they did a biopsy and they've put me on Provera and antibiotics. Got my period and now we're trying a natural cycle. We haven't even been able to transfer yet. Nothing is wrong. I also lost weight in springtime. Okay, Karen, this is the story. Like, birth control pills, they can thin out your lining. That's how they work. Like, that's why we use birth control pills. That's how they prevent pregnancy. We use them as fertility planning pills. And when it comes to a frozen embryo transfer, we also use them as frozen embryo transfer planning pills. But in a case like yours, your uterus might be very sensitive to even a short course of birth control pills to get everything planned. So no birth control pills for you. That would be my recommendation if you were my patient. And there are other ways of taking estrogen, right? You got Smurfgina. You guys know what that means, right? The blue pill in your vagina, and out comes the Smurfgina. Smurfgina.com. Look it up. I'm just kidding. Do not look it up. There's no such thing. I totally made that up, you guys. There's estrogen shots in your butt. Del estrogen, estradiol valerate, those are the terms that we use. So that's another way of getting estrogen, and maybe trying something different like that with vitamin E, L-arginine, aspirin, and no birth control pills. And then maybe even go back and ask your doctor, what was my lining during my stim cycle, right? So look at your lining on the day of the trigger shot. And if your lining was amazing and gorgeous, guess what? Like, that's a clue. Your body really likes that protocol. And talk to your doctor about doing something like that. So it's almost like, inducing ovulation and then doing a transfer, and that's called a natural cycle transfer. And you can do it medicated, but not with medications like estrogen, but medications to get your ovaries to make the estrogen, and maybe your uterus will like that better. Thank you, Karen, for that question, because I got to talk about Smurfgina. Anytime I get to talk about Smurfgina, it just seems like a fun day to me. So this next question is from Penny, okay? Penny said, hi, Dr. Aimee, thanks for answering our questions, but answering. I turned 38 in the summer, and I did my first cycle of egg freezing in September. My AMH was 2.8 in June, and I have no known fertility problems. I stemmed for 12 days, and then at that first retrieval, they got 17 eggs. 15 made it to freeze. That's pretty awesome. Of the 15, 12 were M3s. I'm not sure what an M3 is. Sounds like a BMW. 1 M2 and 2 M1s. It sounds like you probably had 12 M2s, 1 M1, and 2 GVs, something like that. My RE said it was fine to do my next cycle right away, but things were going pretty well at my final ultrasound. They saw 12 follicles ranging in size from 10 to 20, but then I got 6 eggs, and I was so upset. Do you think they triggered me too soon with double Lupron? I had the flu shot and tetanus the day before I started stems. Could that have messed up my cycle? Was it a bad idea to do back-to-back? What would you change to make a third cycle more successful? Okay, Penny, here's the deal. I am not in any rush to freeze your eggs anytime soon. I personally, and I know there are a lot of doctors who don't agree with me, and that's okay. It's okay that we're not all on the same page about this. But in general, for me and my patients, I tend to feel that going back to back can sometimes result in a lower egg count. So your ovaries are saying, leave me the heck alone. Like, leave me alone. Just give me a break and I'm going to be okay. I mean, the fact that your AMH is awesome tends to make me think that it's still awesome, but maybe do some tests so you're more reassured. So with your next period, start doing FSH, estradiol, and AMH. Okay, do those 3 things again. And then sit down with your doctor and say, what were the sizes of my follicles last cycle when I triggered compared to this cycle? What was my estrogen level last cycle compared to this cycle? What day of my cycle was I triggered last cycle compared to this cycle? See? Your cycles are learning experiences. And I've had cycles like that before where like, I expected 10 mature eggs and out comes 4. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you serious? Like, I get really, I mean, as you can tell, I take this stuff pretty personally because I'm working so hard. I'm the one waking up at 6 a.m. retrieving eggs, and I want to make sure that it's perfect every single time. But at the end of the day, we're dealing with human biology, and human biology is far from perfect. We are so inefficient when it comes to reproducing. And I hope one day, everything will be 100%. 1 follicle, 1 mature egg, 1 baby. And until then, we just have to hope for the best possible outcomes. But I would definitely also talk to your doctor about adding a little something, right? A little HCG. Maybe that will help in addition to the double Lupron trigger. And I know everyone's scared of severe OHSS, which is ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, but see what your doctor thinks about adding a little HCG for next time and see if that will help you. Okay, so I hope that these suggestions are helping. And at the end of the day, remember, take your CoQ10. Okay, so this next question is from Violet. So Violet says, hi, Dr. Aimee, I am 41 and I have secondary infertility. I had my son at 22 with a different partner, did 3 medicated IUIs in my 30s, not successful. We're doing a round of IVF starting now. So at 41, get this. Her AMH is 4.2, FSH, it looks like it's 5, and estradiol 37. I had a total of 33 follicles. Holy smokes, 41, 33 follicles. You should be studied. My partner's semen analysis have stayed stable over the years, but his morphology is 4%. I love my doctor, but I can tell she's super busy and she's also an educator. I haven't asked enough questions in ultrasound visits. My fault, not hers. We are doing what they call a Malia protocol, MLEA. I have no idea what that is. Violet, if you're watching right now, can you just live chat what Malia is in the notes here? So we're doing what's called Malia. I'm waiting for a surge on the OPK, then we'll start estrase and testosterone and then go from there. This protocol is much less written about it online. I love your experience with it. When and why it's selected, side effects and outcome experiences, cautiously excited to be in this stage. So, Violet, I feel, I'm just going to share my thoughts here, that I don't know that you need testosterone based on what you've shared with me. You have a ton of eggs. And estrogen priming could be fine to just kind of help coordinate your cycle. So your doctor knows exactly like when your period's going to start and when the cycle's going to start and kind of coordinate things so that the embryologists are all there for your cycle. But otherwise, I don't know that testosterone is necessary. I would say ask your doctor, have you ruled out PCOS in me? Have you made sure that I'm optimized and that like you've done everything possible to prepare my eggs? Because when I'm thinking of an AMH of 4 and a 41-year-old with a follicle count of 33, I'm thinking make sure your testosterone is normal, your vitamin D is normal, your prolactin and thyroid and all that kind of stuff is normal before your cycle. And then I'm also thinking I want to make sure I'm doing everything possible to prevent severe OHSS, right? So don't take your egg count for granted and make sure that we're seeing you early, right? So in a case like yours, I might even put you on 2 days of stim and have you come in on treatment day 3 and just check an estrogen level and see what it is. I don't want to underdose you, but I also don't want to overdose you. And I want some room and time to be able to adjust my medications. So talk to them about things like that if you haven't already. And so my tips, my secret trick, it's not that secret, for preventing OHSS is whey protein, W-H-E-Y, whey. And it works. 1 scoop a day as you get closer to the trigger 2, after the trigger 3, after retrieval 4, and then voila, you feel like a champ. You're still going to be bloated, but you're not going to be so bloated that you're like going to an emergency room. And no one wants anyone in an emergency room right now for obvious reasons. So make sure you're getting electrolyte drinks, like salty drinks is what I call them, salty water. Drip Drop is an example of a brand of a powder pack that you can add to your water during your cycle, and that can be really hydrating. Make sure you have stool softeners, Tylenol, Motrin for pain, heating pad, all that good stuff so that you don't have a poop emergency. See, I said it, poop. Anytime I say poop during the show, you have to take a shot. A shot of what? I don't know. Water. Water is the best thing to drink. Okay, so this question is from Nalini. On October 18th, I had an egg retrieval procedure, and there were 4 follicles after 12 days of stim, which resulted in 0 eggs. What does this mean for my reproductive health? I'm 38, my AMH is 0.67. Can I conceive naturally? Is there any way to ensure I release eggs? This is the sad part. I had a stillbirth at 34 weeks in July of 2018, and since 2019, we've been trying to conceive, but no luck. We had 4 rounds of failed IUI, 1 minor surgery for a polyp removal, and a chemical pregnancy in June of 2020. My doctor couldn't pinpoint what exactly was the issue, as all my vitals are normal. Endometrium lining is perfect. Now she says there's a possibility that I've not even been releasing eggs in the past 22 months, hence the failure in conception. Can you help me conceive? Is there any solution? And the answer is, Nalini, I am sorry. I am sorry that you've been through so much. And my heart breaks that you had to experience a stillbirth. This is something that 1 in 100 people can experience. It's not that uncommon, but to me, you're a hero. That you're here asking these questions and you're fighting for the family that you so deserve. So I'm glad that I'm here and I can help you answer these questions. So here are my thoughts. Number 1, you're 38 years old with an AMH of 0.67. That's not that unusual. That AMH is pretty average at the age of 38. However, 4 follicles growing after 12 days of stim, that makes me think, either that wasn't a good cycle, or I wonder if your FSH is elevated and your AMH is actually lower. Or your doctor put you on lots of birth control pills before they started your stim. So my sense is, with the chemical pregnancy in June, that egg and sperm can still come together. So there's still so many reasons to have hope. But when I have a patient who has 0 eggs at egg retrieval and I'm doing a second opinion consult, I'm going through the following things. Number 1, did you ovulate? So in a case where I have 5 or less follicles, I always encourage my patients to have sex, because sometimes it happens and that's related to something that's out of my control, that's egg quality driven, that I just can't prevent. So have sex leading up to your trigger shot. Did you take enough of a trigger shot? Did you take antagonists with your trigger shot? Was there any sign that you were going to ovulate? Look at your progesterone level, for example, on the day of your trigger shot. And was your trigger shot timed right? Like trigger shot to egg retrieval. Were you triggered at, let's say, 38 hours on accident, or 39 hours on accident, or something like that? So look at all those variables, because the likelihood that you don't have eggs in your ovaries is probably 0, because we know that in 2018 you had an egg in your ovary. So I would just say, I appreciate you saying that, I don't have any eggs in my ovaries, but that's probably not true. So ask her or him for other possible reasons. What have you learned from your cycles so far, as far as the IUIs, and say, what have you ruled out, right? Tubal factor, your fallopian tubes open, yes or no? Is that biochemical, possibly an ectopic pregnancy? It sounds like you had a polypectomy. Would you be a candidate for doing a laparoscopy if there's potential for endometriosis? And ask your doctor, do I have any signs of adenomyosis? So I would not give up. I would still see if you can accomplish another cycle of egg retrieval and perhaps really be annoying, right? I want you to own your information and ask those questions and feel like if you're not being annoying, you're not doing a good job as a patient. I think that should be a bumper sticker right now with COVID. It's like, I ask these questions when people go through IVF. I'm like, what was your embryo quality? And they're like, what? Like, I could know that? I'm like, yeah, it's called an embryology report. Well, they told me I couldn't have it. I'm like, no, there's no such thing. This is the US. It's illegal not to be given your medical records and medical information. So that's a new tagline. If you're not being annoying as a fertility patient, you're not asking enough questions. If you're not annoying yourself, like I annoy myself all day long, I feel like I talk too much. But you guys know what I mean. So super important not to leave the clinic until you have all your questions answered. You can go hang out in the lobby. Just be like, I'm just going to hang out in the lobby until someone can answer my question, right? Because this stuff is really, really important. And if you're there until the next morning, maybe it's time to go home. God, I'm cracking myself up. Okay, this next question is from Cece. Hi, I converted an IVF cycle to IUI this month. I only had 3 to 4 lead follicles and usually have 10 to 12. I triggered with 10,000 units of HCG and all went well, then ended up in the emergency room. Well, that sucks. With a hemorrhagic cyst 4 days after the trigger. I'm on the mend, and how common is this? I have the fear now that this is common with IVF. The doctor said it won't impact the 2-week wait, but I'm not hopeful. Okay, I don't know what the heck is going on here. Okay. My phone keeps wanting to do other things other than maybe my phone is hungry. I haven't eaten since 6 a.m. I think my phone might be hungry too. Okay, so I'll keep talking. So Cece is asking, she's saying, is this normal after an IVF cycle is converted to an IUI for me to have an egg explosion? And the answer is yes. So when I have a patient who's ovulating 3 or 4 eggs, I say, are you going to be okay with this? Because it's going to hurt. You're used to ovulating one egg a month, and it's not going to feel so good. So are you prepared? Do you have a heating pad? Do you have pain medications at home? And call me if you need me, and I'll get you through it. Very rarely do I have a patient who goes to the emergency room for ovulation pain. Like, it's very rare. But if you were to know that it's going to be expected that it could happen, like, you're not going to freak out and like run to the ER. You'll just be like breathing through it, taking your pain meds. The times for you to go to the ER, if you feel like you're going to throw up, you have shoulder pain, meaning you're bleeding internally. If you're feeling like your heart is racing, you're starting to sweat, or you feel like you're going to lose consciousness, yeah, then go to the ER. But obviously, if you feel like you need to go to the ER, go to the ER. But I would say more times than not, you can possibly prevent that ER visit by talking to your doctor about what can I expect to feel after I'm ovulating 3 to 4 eggs, right? So I don't think that the pain's going to affect your 2-week wait. I still think that there's a good chance that you could be pregnant and not worry that, like, I don't think it's going to interfere at all. Okay. So I hope my answer made sense. Thanks, Cece. Okay, this question's from Christine. I am 35 years old, trying to conceive for 3 years, 3 IUIs, 6 retrievals, 7 transfers, only 1 chemical pregnancy. I have stage 4 endometriosis, had bilateral tubes removed for hydrosalpinx by AMH level 0.8, okay? I have 6 frozen untested embryos. My last retrieval, we did PGTA, 2 out of 4 normal. One is day 5, 5BB, and the other is a day 7, 4BB, and 1 mosaic. I did an ERA test. 132 is my number. My protocol is estrase, Lovenox, Medrol, 5 days of azithromycin. What else can I do to help with chances of having a baby? What would you do? My doctor does not believe in transferring more than 1 genetically tested. He will transfer 2 untested. Should I go for the day 5, 5BB tested? I read that this embryo only has a 30% chance of a live birth. And I read that a 7, 4-day BB only has a 20% chance. I just don't want to be heartbroken anymore. Do I have a chance for a baby? I want 3. Okay. Holy smokes, Christine. 7 transfers? You are just as stubborn as I am. But here's what I would do if it were me. I want you to be a mom with your own DNA. I want you to have 3 kids. We have the 3 questions. Let's go through them right now. What do you want? What is it going to take to get what you want? Are you willing to do it? You want 3 kids. What is it going to take? It's going to take every single one of these embryos to probably make it right now because of the number of embryos that you have left and the strength of those embryos. What is it going to take? Here we go. I think it might take using a gestational carrier. That's really hard to hear, but it's time. I think it's time for someone to just say it out loud. Just say it. That's what I would do in a case like yours. If you were a patient of mine, oh my God, like you would be on my, like I have this list, they're on my hand. I'm just like, I want you off my list. I really want you to get pregnant. And a case like yours is something that I would carry in my heart as your doctor. And I would be constantly, like literally constantly thinking about you so I could get you off my list and do whatever I can to help you. So that would be my strategy. But it sounds like there's still some tests that you haven't done that I would do if it were me. Number 1, a laparoscopy, hysteroscopy. Ask your doctor, have you ruled out adenomyosis? There's a very fancy protocol. I mean, it's not that fancy. It just takes a lot of effort and there's lots of medications involved. Depo-Lupron and femara protocol. Maybe try that for 1 to 2 months. It looks like your doctor didn't do the Receptiva test. They were very smart to do the ERA test for you, but maybe add the Receptiva test and see if you'll find any signs of silent endometriosis. But at the same time, even if you don't find it, maybe treat for it anyways. Okay, so if you need help with that protocol, it's called the Steiner protocol, and it's a protocol of Depo-Lupron plus femara, and I use agestin as well in that protocol, and then continue the femara until you start your progesterone. So talk to your doctor about being more creative with your protocol in preparation for your next transfer, but at the end of the day, think about what I said, okay? And I really hope that you're pregnant your way. That should be a song, Pregnant My Way. I don't even know who sings that song. I don't think anyone does. I think I'm just making this stuff up as far as right now with lyrics. But I feel like there is a song somewhere in my head. Anyways, I'm going to go to the next question, you guys. Okay, this question is from Jessica. Hi, Dr. Aimee. I'm 35 years old and I've been diagnosed with endometriosis, PCOS, and hypothyroidism. All super common, you guys. I've done IVF twice and was told that my eggs were no good. I don't like that. I like saying things like, we just didn't have the golden egg in this batch, but hopefully it's out there. They were either deteriorating or no eggs were found in the follicles. He told me not to bother trying again and go with an egg donor. I want to have a child of my own. Is there anything I can do to produce great eggs and perhaps do rounds of IUI? I literally can't afford IVF again. And P.S. My husband's swimmers are great. Thanks for hearing me out. Okay, so this is the thing. I'm confused. Okay, you have PCOS, but your eggs are deteriorating and you have no good eggs. So I'm just wondering, have we really confirmed that ovarian syndrome? Get it? Please confirm your ovarian syndrome. That's really important to do, guys. PCOS, figure out what your hormone levels are and balance them and make sure you're getting an accurate diagnosis. Endometriosis, I hate endometriosis. It really hurts our eggs. So I think it's really important to support your egg quality, understanding what your diagnosis is, and take the right supplements. I believe in supplements. I think that they work. I would consider having you take, I have an endometriosis supplement list that I give my patients, but for example, CoQ10 NEC, those are helpful. NAD, helpful, but endometriosis can cause scar tissue around your fallopian tubes. It can cause something called pelvic adhesive disease. So make sure you've repeated an HSG if you haven't more recently. And then I would be as aggressive as you feel comfortable being, right? What does that mean? Ovulate as many eggs as comfortably possible. And then consider IUI if, I don't necessarily think you need IUI if the sperm is fabulous and the swimmers sparkle. The thing is that IUI is great for people who fight around sex. There's erectile issues. Sperm quality is just slightly lower, or if you just feel like you want to, right? Otherwise, I don't feel like you need to. It doesn't increase the pregnancy rate by that much, but it removes some of the fighting in the bedroom around ovulation. So my thought is don't give up. Every 3 to 6 months, reevaluate and be like, is it time for me to be a parent or continue to be a patient? Because you have done so much work already to give yourself the best chance of pregnancy with IVF. But I have certainly had patients, for example, who've done even I think I had a patient who did something I think she did 6 IVF cycles to finally get pregnant with an IUI cycle with me, right? That's nuts, totally nuts. And it was super fun. And I was so glad to be a part of it. And so that I can share that with you guys today. Okay, next question is from Sarah. And Sarah says, hi, I'm 40 with an AMH of 0.02. I went through a high Menopur IVF cycle that was canceled early. My goal is for my son to have a sibling or grow the family. So rather than waste time and money, I chose the donor egg route. We started with 8 eggs, ended in 3 embryos. Holy smokes. Seriously? Oh, I think I was like, AMH of 0.02. No, I get you, Sarah. It was the egg donor cycle you're talking to me about. I did the FET and became pregnant with an HCG of 1,537. At my 7-week ultrasound, we heard the heartbeat. The next week, no heartbeat, and the baby stopped growing. What went wrong? I did all the things I was supposed to do. Acupuncture, follow the rules, proper supplements, diet, etc. What should I ask my doctor if we do another donor egg IVF round? Or does this just happen and it's bad luck? No previous miscarriages. I had a DNC last week and the consult is coming up. Thank you. Sarah, I am sorry that you had that experience. That sucks. It totally blows. If you were here and I did the ultrasound, I'd want to just clobber you with the biggest hug ever, despite COVID, but I'm not going to do it, but I really want to do it, but you know what I mean. So here is what I'm thinking. That pregnancy is the most valuable tool for us to learn from. So if you were a patient of mine, I would say, 1, let's genetically test that pregnancy and see what there is for us to learn. We want to know if that pregnancy was genetically normal. So even though your PGS testing came back saying normal, we know that there's a limit to the level of detection of abnormalities with the platforms that we use. So I actually have seen it where I put in a normal embryo and out comes an abnormal embryo. I've seen it 3 times in the last 13 years. So I know it's not impossible, but I think that's one thing to rule out. What's going on with that pregnancy? Thing 2, anatomy. What's going on with the anatomy of your uterus? Has your doctor ruled out a septum? Has your doctor ruled out scar tissue? Is there any uterine anomaly that we should know about? Look at your nutrition. Look at the genetics of the sperm. Ask your doctor, would it be important for us to do a sperm DNA fragmentation test right now? Have you ruled out diabetes in me? Have you ruled out a thyroid abnormality? Is there something that I can improve with my lifestyle to help me maintain a pregnancy? And then the other thing, let me think, autoimmune issues. is it possible that I have antiphospholipid antibody syndrome and I could benefit from using Lovenox? So basically what I did right now is go through the Angel method. So you can go to, I hope it's linked now, angelmethod.com. And there's the 5 things that everyone should do after miscarriage, in my humble opinion, or at least talk to your doctor about and be like, should I look at anatomy, autoimmune, nutrition, genetics, endocrine, and lifestyle stuff, right? Have we talked about everything possible before I do another transfer? And I'm wondering, why only 1 normal embryo out of all the donor eggs, right? There were, you said 8 eggs, 3 embryos, and only 1 was normal. You want to see if that was related to some sperm genetic issue and get that stuff tested. If you were a patient of mine, I would do a sperm DNA fragmentation test, because that's one of the hardest things is the embryos can look normal, the chromosomes can be normal, and then if that embryo came from sperm that was highly fragmented, then what happens is that there's a higher risk of miscarriage. And there are things that you can do next time, like Pixie or Zymot. Those are cool those are cool things that you can add to your next cycle that could hopefully improve your chances of having a live birth and maybe even more normal blasts. Okay? So thank you, Sarah, for sharing that. This is something that I've lived through before with my patients. And, and I feel for you that you had to go through this as well. So this next question is from Pav. Pav is saying, I have stage 4 endo. I had a laparoscopy early this year. I tried naturally for a couple of months. I have a rapidly growing cyst. And after 4 months on the other ovary. Oh, that's annoying. Should I start IVF retrievals right away after the second laparoscopy? What would you recommend for injections for someone who has such serious endometriosis? Okay, this is the thing. Don't do another laparoscopy, right? Go right into IVF. Make sure you got all the embryos that you need. Maybe do another cycle and then treat the endometriosis before you do a transfer. Because you might even need Depo-Lupron, and that shuts down your ovaries and makes it harder for them to wake up. It makes everyone's different as far as how long it takes their bodies to wake up after that lovely shot called Depo-Lupron. And I'm totally kidding. There's nothing lovely about that shot. The nightmare stories that I hear from my patients are truly nightmares, but they're all prepared for it because they watched my Depo-Lupron survival guide show. So that's my feeling with someone who has stage 4 endometriosis. Depending on the size of the cyst and the accessibility of the eggs, talk to your doctor about whether there's value in doing retrievals first and then removing the endometrioma. One thing that I do for my patients who have endometriosis is I have them take femara daily throughout their stem cycle and even after to keep the estrogen low. And then I would also recommend that you take N-acetylcysteine that has been shown to prevent progression and treat endometriosis. It's pretty cool stuff. Next question is from Maya. Maya says, please help me. We have unexplained infertility. We're both so healthy. We eat paleo, we work out, I do yoga and meditate every day. Oh God, I kind of hate you. You are way too healthy. I'm just kidding. I don't hate you. I think that's kind of cool. And meditate every day. I go to acupuncture, manage my stress, see a therapist, and take tons of supplements from my naturopath. So basically, Maya, you're telling me that you have a fertility team. You have the therapist, the acupuncturist, the exercise person, the meditation person. You're like so prepared for everything. And our test came back perfect. Why can't we get pregnant? Should we try IUI, then IVF? I'm 34, husband is 32. I've been trying to conceive for 14 months. Okay, so here's the thing. It sounds like you've had your tushy checked. If you haven't, go to tushymethod.com. Make sure you've done the 5 tests. One of the things people think they've done that they haven't is enough genetic screening. Don't learn it the hard way that you guys one of you have a balanced translocation. I've seen that before in young people, and it's super sad and frustrating to find out after a cycle of IVF or after a miscarriage that that's something that you wish you had known up front. So ask your doctor, have I done enough genetic screening? Okay. If your mom had miscarriages or his mom had miscarriages, that could be a sign that maybe it's genetic and in the family and something that you should screen. My general rule for someone who's 34 years old, who's partnered and wants at least 2 kids is to strongly consider doing IVF now. Why? Because your eggs are young, right? That's why. So that when you're ready to have another baby at 36, you're like, cool. Like I secured some options for myself at a time when my chances will be lower. Because if you think about it, you've been trying already for 14 months. And when you're ready for baby number 2, that's a myth that as long as you get pregnant with baby number 1, baby number 2 will be easy. I mean, I would love for that to be the case, like for everybody. Like anyone who's struggled to have baby number 1, like should get baby number 2 easily, but that's just not the reality of what happens most of the time. So if you kind of plot things out and create a roadmap for yourself and be like, this is what my future is going to look like, it might make more sense to freeze eggs, freeze embryos, or do both. So I'm glad I could give you my input. and take CoQ10. Okay, this question is from Jennifer. Dear Dr. Aimee, I'm 43 years old, AMH of 1.94. All tests are normal. 3 prior miscarriages, 1 with trisomy 13, 3 unsuccessful attempts via IUI, no male issues. I just finished, holy smokes, you guys, there's all these women over 40 that like have these crazy numbers tonight, like insane. You guys must all be friends or something, or maybe it's all the same person asking the same questions. I just finished my first IVF cycle. We got 17 eggs. Oh. 10 mature, all fertilized, and 5 made it to day 5, 6 blast. They were sent for PGS testing, and all 5 came back abnormal. Well, that freaking sucks. I am sorry. Heartbroken. We're trying to decide at my age, do we try another cycle to find that golden egg with the hope of making one normal embryo, or at my age, do we just move to donor eggs? I've been on DHEA, CoQ10, acupuncture prenatals. I asked my RE about changes to the protocol that he might do, and he mentioned growth hormone for the whole cycle versus every other day. What would you recommend? Jennifer is asking me. Help me. Okay, so this is what I would do, Jennifer, if you're a patient of mine. Start HGH now twice a week. 25 IUs, Monday, Thursday, something like that. Do that until your next cycle. In that cycle, if cost-wise, I mean, HGH is super expensive, consider taking it every single day in that cycle. Otherwise, do it every other day. Add NAD. The company that I get it from is True Niagen. You can get it from any company. It's only made by one company, and they license it out to everybody else. So don't worry about getting it from True Niagen. You can get it from anybody you want. But that's one supplement that I would definitely add. As far as the protocol, it sounds like your blast formation rate was awesome. The likelihood of each blast being normal is less than 15%. So the fact that all of them were abnormal is unfortunately not that surprising. If you were a patient of mine, I would say it might take 4, even 6 cycles to even get one normal. So the thing that I ask you is, if we do another cycle and it doesn't work, would you have rather have done a donor egg cycle so that you can have a higher chance of being a parent and you can cut this stuff out? I mean, just cut the crap of going through these ridiculous cycles to be so heartbroken. So that's something that you should ask yourself, and then do that 5-year thing where you look back and you'll be like 48-year-old Jennifer and be like, hey, 48-year-old Jennifer, like, would you tell 43-year-old Jennifer, like, you did good and you can move on? Or would you look back and wish at 48, the 43 should talk to the 48, I should say, and say, hey, I wish I had tried one more time. So if you want to try one more time, there is still a chance that you can make a normal embryo. But if you are ready to move on, you have my permission and blessing. I tell people not using your own DNA is okay. It is totally okay. I learned from Jana Rupp now. If you guys don't know who she is, you got to listen in on her podcast. Plan B is the plan that was meant to be. So there's something about being 40 where all of a sudden you're like, I don't care. Like, I just want a baby, right? But not everyone gets there. So when you're there, you're like, light switch on, I'm ready, and I'm ready to bring love into my heart. And then you get really excited about looking at profiles for donors. But I can't make you get there. You got to get there on your own. So it's a process. I have my patients talk to therapists. There are amazing therapists out there. So talk to your doctor about who they recommend. If you want to know who I recommend, I have a blog article somewhere on my website. You can, put, egg donor psychologist into the search engine, and I'm sure you're going to find that. So I think you're doing all the right things. I strongly suggest trying again if you want to, but having practical and pragmatic expectations is super important. Okay, so thanks, Jennifer, for that question. This next question is from CVH. CVH's question is, I have a question about whether I opt to start IVF or keep trying naturally. I just turned 42. In the past year, my husband and I have been pregnant 4 times and I've had 4 losses, all due to chromosomal abnormalities. We are planning to start IVF as soon as my cycle returns, with PGS, of course. I'm worried about my cycles failing, all the stress and all the drugs and everything that it will do into my body. I worry about that. I'm wondering if it's just not better to keep trying naturally. My fear is that a year from now, we will not have a healthy baby through IVF, and we will have lots of money spent and time wasted. I know recurrent pregnancy loss and all the DNCs we've had carry their own risk to what to do. Okay, CVH, this is the thing. If you're not ready to make the decision, don't make it. Your eggs aren't going to disappear overnight. Like, wait a month or 2. It's November. Like, who wants to get all bloated and stuff on hormones during the holidays? And I know. I have patients like, but it's COVID. The holidays don't matter. We're not celebrating. I'm like, come on. It's still the stress of the holidays. So I would say leave yourself alone and then ask yourself the 3 questions. It's really simple. Even when it seems complicated, it's not, what do I want? And if it's, I really want a baby, and what is it going to take? Well, it's going to take all these shots potentially in IVF. And if you're not willing to do it, then you have to compromise. You have to. You have to compromise and be real and be like, well, I want a baby, but I understand that if I don't do it with the shots, I might put myself at higher risk for having more miscarriages. And then you have to be okay with that. And it sounds to me like the experience of being pregnant and finding out, and this is the thing, like there are patients where I ask them this question, and this is an important question actually for you to answer. Are you there? I'm just kidding. The question is this, awkward. The question is this. If you had another miscarriage, CVH, I don't think that's your real name. If you had another miscarriage, would you have wished that you had done IVF and genetically tested the embryo? If the answer is, no, Aimee, I think I can get through another pregnancy that miscarried, then I think the answer is right there for you. But if you feel like emotionally, physically, like I cannot have another D&C, I cannot live through another miscarriage, there, your answer is right there for you. See, guys, I should be like an astrologist or something. Okay, this is something that I deal with every single day with my patients. So that's why these questions are very easy for me to answer. So I hope that my input is helpful. If not, I'm sorry. Okay, this question's from Katie. Hi, I'm 26. I'm currently on the depot for my birth control. My boyfriend and I, oh, that's so cute, you guys. She's 26 with a boyfriend. This is really sweet. Are you ready for this? Talk about our future and hope to have kids in 3, maybe 4 years. That's really sweet. Like most 26-year-olds don't do that. Like I have patients who are like 36 and don't talk to their boyfriends about having kids. So good job, Katie. Keep talking about this. However, hearing stories about infertility scare me. My mother also had numerous miscarriages. My question is, when should I start talking to my OB/GYN about my goal to have a family in a few years? Katie, now. I mean, I could scream now louder, but I'm not going to. I might scare the neighbors. So this is my dealio. If you're 21 years old, and I know you're 26, and your mom has had fertility issues, I always say, get your levels checked. Okay? So this is the age. Get your levels checked. So it sounds like it might make sense to ask your mom, hey mom, why did you have the miscarriage? Were they genetically abnormal? Potentially, could you have had fibroids? Did you have some sort of uterine anomaly? Maybe endometriosis possibly? Because those kinds of things could be inherited and you might have those issues. So Tushy method is for you. So I don't know that you necessarily need to get your tubes checked right now, but getting a pelvic ultrasound to rule out some of the things that I talked to you about. Getting your boyfriend's sperm checked, because believe it or not, if you need IVF in the future, let's say in 3 or 4 years, you're going to want his younger sperm. So there's so many do-it-yourself kits out there. There's Yo Sperm Test, there's meetfellow.com. All of those work. You can use code EggWhisper. So meetfellow.com/EggWhisper for that do-it-yourself sperm kit. And then make sure you've done enough genetic screening. So talk to your mom and say, Mom, like, is it possible that you have a chromosome issue? If you don't feel comfortable talking to her about that, that's fine. But I think it's helpful to find out if she was screened for that. And if not, you should do enough genetic screening. Do a chromosome analysis. Do a carrier screen. Because in that carrier screen, you're going to find out if you're at higher risk of forming a blood clot. For example, you might have inherited factor V or a prothrombin gene mutation from your mom. So that's why it's super important for us to talk to our mothers about their fertility. And probably the one most important question to ask your mom on the list of things that I just mentioned is, hey mom, when did you go into menopause? Because sometimes we ask that question way too late. And we ask it at a time where that information can't inform us anymore about important steps that we can take to prevent infertility for ourselves. So I know the questions, I know the answers to these questions for myself, just because this is like, I came out of my mother saying I wanted to be an infertility doctor, if you couldn't tell. It's kind of in my genes. So I know that not everyone knows to ask their mothers these questions, but this is a good time. Call your mom. Call your mom tonight, everybody. I'll be done here in about 10 minutes. And then ask mom, be like, Mom, did you have any trouble getting pregnant? Do you have any miscarriages in between me and Johnny or whoever your sibling is? How old were you when you went to menopause? Did you have any problems with fibroids, endometriosis? 5 questions. And then see what she says and see how it can possibly inform you. Because it's like fascinating to me. I have patients who come in after like years of fertility treatment and they still haven't had that conversation with their mom. So just something to do tonight after you guys are done watching me talk to myself for an hour. Okay, so next question is from Elena. Elena says, hello, Dr. Aimee. I'm 33 years old. I have DOR, and I started to take a lot of supplements to increase my egg quality. Could you please suggest the best combination of supplements during the day to avoid negative co-interactions between them? Here's my schedule so far, you guys. Are you ready for this? AM DHEA 25 milligrams, NAC 600 with a full glass of water, lipoic acid 480, turmeric, curcumin powder, 500 milligrams in coffee. Ew, but okay. DHEA at lunch, fish oil, acai berry, snack time, myo-inositol, black haw, cramp bark tinctures. That sounds kinky. I don't know. I just had to say that. It's Friday night. I can say kinky. Dinner, DHEA 25 milligrams, prenatals, Ovavite, CoQ10 25 milligrams, resveratrol 500, snack, black haw. That sounds nice. And camp bark tinctures, kinky. Should I add any other supplements for egg quality or maybe increase the doses of the current ones? Also, can aspartame have a negative influence on egg quality? What do you think about fertility cleanse and diet? Do you think they make a difference? Okay, so Elena, 33 years old, DOR. There's one thing you're not taking and I would add, and that's NAD. I swear, I don't know why it helps. I don't know how it helps. I mean, I know how. I understand the mechanism of how it helps. And I don't know why it helps some people and not others, but I would seriously get NAD. Like True Niagen is one company, they should pay me because like no one pays me, you guys, for anything. Just so you know, I recommend things that I take for myself that I think helps my patients and I know they take too and I see great results. And then the other thing is get started. Get the party started, just like pink, right? Get the party started and let's start freezing eggs, embryos, or both as soon as possible for you without any delays. And it sounds like you're probably doing acupuncture because that's probably who's recommending some of this stuff because they're very creative and helpful. But I would strongly recommend acupuncture if you haven't started already. And then the other thing about aspartame, that question, I would say honey. Use honey. Honey is a great sweetener. I love honey. Honey in my tea, honey. I don't put honey in coffee. I know there's some people that do that, but honey is a great sweetener. So if you really love the sweet taste of aspartame, a little bit is probably just fine, but try and avoid it as much as you can. Okay, you guys, I have a few more questions and I'm going to answer your live questions and then I'm going to go home. Here we go. This is from Monica. Hi, Dr. Aimee. Thank you for taking the time. I'm 36 years old on my third medicated IUI using donor sperm. For this cycle, I was on Clomid 150. God bless you, Monica. I am sorry. I'm just apologizing already. I'm sorry that you had to take that. That stuff is horrible. And 50 IUs of Gonal F. My AMH is 4.9. Holy smokes, that is a high AMH. If this cycle isn't successful, what would be your recommended next step or suggestion? I've been worked up for the Tushy method. All is well. Okay, Monica, 36 years old. How many kids do you want? If you want more than one kid, consider making embryos right now, and you can still do IUIs in the future. Number 2, Clomid is gross. I know doctors prescribe it still. I'm just like, I don't get it. Honestly, I just don't. When you can prescribe letrozole and your patient will lose her mind or go crazy, that's what I would do. Clomid has a higher chance of thinning out your lining. That can't be good. And femara doesn't necessarily do it. I've rarely seen femara do it. But if you had no side effects on Clomid at all, there are people like that out there that just feel normal on Clomid. Holy smokes, if that's you and you got a good response from the Clomid, I would say go for it. But in my hands, I have no problem going up to 3 tablets per night of femara or even 4 tablets per night of femara and sometimes even gone up to 5. But it sounds like with your AMH that you don't need to do that. Other strategies that I've done for patients who are using donor sperm, double IUI, get more sperm, coat the field, everywhere, sperm everywhere. Sperm before ovulation, after ovulation, 2 days. No, that's not what we do. So basically, if let's say tonight was your trigger shot, I would say 1 IUI tomorrow, Saturday morning, and 1 IUI 36 hours from the trigger shot. So that's another thing that you can do. So you're not putting you at risk for multiples. So I hope those suggestions help. Okay, so this question is from Chloe. Chloe is saying, we recently got 12 donor eggs, 11, I can talk, you guys. Slow down, Aimee, slow down. 11 of them thawed, 10 fertilized. Then they all arrested on day 3. Everything checked out great with my husband's sperm. My RE's lab is saying that the eggs were most likely of poor quality or not frozen correctly. Huh? We are devastated and don't really know what to do next. Hopefully the eggs will be replaced by the egg bank. Is it common for donor eggs to be of poor quality? Chloe, the answer is no. It is super uncommon, but you got to look at the egg bank that you're working with. Go back to them and say, have these eggs been thawed before? What is the history? And that's something that I do. When I pick an egg from an egg bank, I always ask, what's the history on this egg donor? How many eggs have been thawed? What's the blast pore formation rate? How many pregnancies? What were the outcomes? Right? Like, don't you want to know those questions? But you guys, if you don't know what questions to ask, you're not going to, you know, like you want to know those answers, but you didn't know that you can ask, right? Now you know. You can ask those questions. And if you aren't getting the answers, guess what? Who can ask? Your doctor can ask those questions. The egg banks are going to be super transparent, because believe me, if there's an egg bank that's not going to give me those answers, I'm like, hello, oh, bye. Yeah, I'm not using your egg bank anymore, because that doesn't fly with me. Like, I want people to be upfront and tell me the real deal, because that kind of stuff of thawing eggs and not having them grow to blast, that makes me really mad. So I think maybe even doing a phone call, if this were a case of for me, I would have my patient on the phone and the egg bank on the phone and the embryologist on the phone, and we'll all strategize together so we can learn at the same time. So we're not feeling like things are being hid from us or there's a cover up, because honestly, if your clinic doesn't know how to thaw those eggs, and it could be a clinic issue, maybe they just got some Joe Schmo, poor Joe Schmo, off the street, and they're like, hey, you were answering the phones the other day at the gas station, come on over here and we'll teach you how to thaw eggs. Like, that stuff happens sometimes, you guys. I mean, it really doesn't, but like, what if the person who thawed your eggs, like, that was their first day on the job? You would have no idea and have no way of knowing. I would know because I'm the boss. So I wear a shirt that says I'm the boss at home, so people know I'm the boss. But anyways, it's Friday night, you guys. Thank you for joining me. This is super fun. Like, you guys know that I could do this all night long. So I hope, Chloe, that you learn from what I just said. And I hope that you go back and you advocate for yourself and you say, what the heck? I want to know exactly what happened and why, and make sure that your husband has had a sperm DNA fragmentation test, a chromosome analysis, so we're not missing something genetic with him. So those are the things that I would be thinking about, and those are the things that I would do. Okay, last question. I think my AirPods, I don't even know why I wear AirPods when I'm talking to myself. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys still hear me? I know there's a whole bunch of you guys can still hear me. Can you guys hear me now? Everyone can hear me? Okay, cool. I'm going to keep going. This is Leah's question. Can you do the ERA and Receptiva test in the same cycle? My doctor says no, but I've heard others had it done together. What would be the reason for spreading them out? Of course you can do them together. It's like a twofer. Sometimes it's a threefer, right? So you take your medications for 3 weeks. Day of your biopsy, one biopsy, pull back on the plunger, go into 2 different containers. Of course you can do them together. I have no idea why you would spread them out. That's insane. You heard it here. Yes, be super efficient. And the reason why I call it a threefer is because on the day of the biopsy, you can also do a hysteroscopy. And then you can be asleep potentially and not be traumatized by the horrible catheter, because that catheter sucks, okay? I give my patients a Valium and a Tylenol with codeine 30 minutes before, and I prepare them with a good talk. And I make sure they have their happy place. And if they don't have their happy place, remember guys, I tell you to squeeze your buns. It's a great distraction, just go there. But don't squeeze your buns when I have the speculum in, like right then and there, because that gets in my way. Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to go through your live chatted questions right now, and let's see what you guys have asked me. I think that there were a lot tonight, and then I'm going to go home. Is a 2% normal form semen analysis too low to get pregnant? Olivia asked that question. The answer is no. 2% normal forms doesn't mean you can't get pregnant. It suggests there could be a fertilization issue, but it doesn't mean that there will be. It doesn't mean you can't get pregnant naturally. But I would ask the question, especially if you've been trying a while, I would ask, is there a chance that there could be a varicocele, right? Do I need to look at DNA fragmentation? Should we check labs like testosterone? Is there something with my partner's lifestyle that we can improve upon? And should he take supplements, right? Balls Method, you guys. Go to ballsmethod.com. You're going to learn everything that I just shared with you. So the next question here, I'm going to scroll down. Asking here. I'm on day 9 of stim. My progesterone was 1.5 today. They're saying I'll trigger tomorrow and egg retrieval on Monday. No chance of a fresh transfer with the progesterone already creeping up, right? That's very controversial. I don't really think so. I think that a lot of people are taking supplements that can interfere with the progesterone assays. That may not necessarily be a real progesterone. There actually have been some studies that say that, you know, transferring with a progesterone that's 1.5 actually doesn't hurt at all. And other studies that say it could. So I'm really not sure. I think it's a fine balance between figuring out what's right for you and what your doctor says. And so remember those 3 questions. What do I want? What is it going to take to get what I want? And am I willing to do it? So if the number of embryos that you have satisfies the number of kids that you want, then maybe, I don't want you to have any doubt at all, they'll definitely do a frozen embryo transfer. But if you have so many embryos and your progesterone is like 1.5 tomorrow too, then maybe you say, let's try a transfer, if that's what you wanted to do. Next question is from Carlita. Is it okay to take femara and the supplements you recommend for IUI? And if you were a patient of mine, I would say, yes, you can take supplements and take your femara at the same time. Next question is from Carrie. Hi, can I get your thoughts on HCG wash infusion in the uterus before transfer. And absolutely, Carrie, I've done it before, and I've never seen an improvement that made me think that this is something that I want to do for my patients. I wish. I've tried it all. I mean, I've had the patients that have done like 7 transfers, 11 transfers, and I'm like, oh my God, I want something to help these people because they're not ready for gestational carrier and they still have so many embryos and they want to have something to do. So in a case like yours, ask your doctor what their experience is, but in my experience, I have not noticed an improvement. So I hope this advice helps. Next question, let's go down here. What kind of donor sperm should be used for IVF? The good kind. The kind that sparkles. So call the sperm bank and be like, hi, do you have any sperm vials that are sparkling right now? The answer is this. These are the questions that I ask when I pick a donor sperm vial. I want to make sure that you're genetically compatible with the sperm source. I also want to look and see what the history is. How many pregnancies, and I also ask about gender, because some sperm, like, believe it or not, this isn't controversial. Like, there's some guys that just have one gender. So if you wanted, let's say, a girl and a boy, like, this is something that I ask. Not all sperm banks are going to tell you, but they'll tell me when I ask. So that's one thing that I ask that's a little bit outside the box. And then for IVF, you can use any type of vial. You can use an ICI, an IUI, an ART IUI, like, you can use any vial. And if you have a sperm donor, this is another little trick, a bit of advice, that has, let's say, only 2 vials left. You can actually do a partial thaw or scrape the vial, like a little ice cream scooper, going into the vial of sperm and taking out a little scoop to thaw. Literally, that's kind of what it is. So don't be scared if you have very few vials left of your sperm donor. There still are ways to get more than one cycle out of one vial, but it has to be a vial with a lot of sperm, okay? I hope I'm making someone laugh out there. Okay, this is from Mom Art Con. Can you get accurate levels if you're still breastfeeding and don't have your period yet? And the answer is yes for the AMH for the most part, no for the FSH estradiol because you just can't. So I hope that helps. Next question is from Jennifer. Is the whey good for IUI? When would you start taking that leading up to it? So yes, whey is great for IUI patients who are super bloated. Let's say if you have like 3 or 4 eggs that are going to explode or ovulate. I use words like explosion in my office. I do. I ask patients if they feel like they're having one. And if not, that is always a good sign. My goal is that everyone's experience is as smooth as possible, but I do sometimes have those IUI patients that scare me a little, like maybe 1 or 2 a year where I'm like, oh my God. And in those cases, I'm like, whey protein, please, because I don't want OHSS from an IUI. I've never had OHSS from an IUI, and I still want to be able to say that every single day for the rest of my life. So whey protein can still help keep you hydrated and help with your physical recovery after ovulation. So 2 of 3 sisters asking, does taking a medication like lexapro by the hubby affect fertility, sperm count, motility, morphology? The answer is it could. So look at his sperm quality. And this is the thing. Why is he taking lexapro? Is it because he's depressed, right? Duh. But sometimes we're missing another reason for depression, and that is low testosterone. Hello. And so you're taking lexapro, and then you'll see that the sperm quality is low. But in the end, the reason why the sperm quality is low is because of the low testosterone. And the low testosterone is what's caused the depression. See? So you want to fix the low testosterone, and that's going to fix everything else. What's up? See? I try and make it as simple as possible. And in the end of the day, it's actually not as complex as people think, figuring out these issues. So if sperm count is low, explore it. Go to Ball's Method, ballsmethod.com, look at everything, have him take supplements. If he's depressed, I don't want him to stop his lexapro. But if it's causing erection, Lexapro doesn't cause erections, people. If Lexapro is causing erectile dysfunction, then we know it could be getting in the way of your ability to achieve a pregnancy for obvious reasons, because I don't need to do a sex lesson right now. Okay, so this is from Shrimp Flower. That is just so fun to say. I can say that 10 times. Shrimp Flower, Shrimp Flower. I'm not going to do it though. I found out today that one of my abnormal embryos is actually mosaic. Is there any way to tell if there's a higher or lower risk mosaic? My clinic uses their own lab and does not offer genetic counseling for results. They can refer me to an outside genetic counselor. Is it okay to wait and see if I need to consider using the mosaic? And the answer is yes. I would talk to a genetic counselor. I would talk to a high-risk OBGYN. I would talk to your fertility doctor, and they should be able to tell you if it's low mosaic rate or high mosaic rate. The data is there. Whether they do the genetic testing in-house or with a company, the data is there. And you can remember what I said at the beginning of the show. Be annoying. Get your answers, because every question has an answer. And the answer shouldn't be, we don't know, for something like that. because they do know. Next question is, how do you reduce bloat during the egg freezing process? So I swear there's something about hydrating really well that helps, and not with just water. Please consider, G2 Propel, Gatorade. I talk about whey protein. I talk about protein shakes, all that kind of stuff, and drink. Like drink. I feel like I'm in my sorority days where people are screaming at me to drink, and I was such a nerd and I never had a single drink. Seriously. Like, if you were a sorority sister of mine, you remember that I was the girl that was in the bathroom calling my dad at the sorority party, scared because I wanted to go home and study for my test the next day. That was me. But literally, I feel like I'm in a sorority when at work because I'm telling everyone to drink. Okay, this question is from Vivacious Mo. I love that you're saying that. I feel so annoying when I'm advocating for myself. Thank you. You're very welcome. Okay, so someone is saying, you just mentioned birth control leading up to, does that impact outcome? And the answer is, birth control pills do not affect the outcome of frozen embryo transfer. They could potentially thin out your lining in people who have, or are more sensitive and have problems getting their lining thick. Okay. So someone's saying, are progesterone suppositories better, or is PIO better? So PIO stands for PIA, pain in the beep. No, but they really are a PIA, a pain in the butt. But progesterone in oil is a great way of getting progesterone in. You'll never forget it. It's really easy to forget. This literally happened. I love this patient to death, and I don't know if she's watching. She's the funnest. She calls her endometrium Fun Dip. Fun Dip. Like, you'll never look at Fun Dip the same again, you guys. She's like, my Fun Dip is causing me a lot of discharge. But that's the thing. Endometrium is disgusting. It's like slimy. It's disgusting. And I call it Vagiseltzer. That's how you get my point, right? So I'll stop. But you have to take it 3 times a day, 8, 2, and 8. And I tell my patients, if you skip 1, your efforts are done. And that sounds really mean and pretty severe, but that's the truth. With an oil, there's a buildup. If if you're not doing it at the exact same time, it's okay. There's a 2-hour window that you can do it. It doesn't have to be at the exact same time. But when it comes to the Fun Dip, you really have to be on schedule, or else there's no progesterone going to your pregnancy. So I always talk to patients about both, and then they can decide what they want to do. So this is a question from Allie. Dr. Aimee, I love you. Thank you, Allie. I love you too. When do you recommend estrogen priming pre-IVF cycle? My doctor wants me to do it, but I read it's normally done for women with DOR. I'm 37, AMH 2.38, FSH 8.2. So Allie, there's some people that start ovulating super early in their cycle. So if you're someone perhaps that ovulates around cycle day 8 through 10, even though you have an amazing egg count for someone who's 38, I would say potentially maybe try it. I sometimes do it just a little bit, just a few days maybe before stim start. And I don't do it all the time. And I learn basically about a patient when she ovulates to see if she needs it. And sometimes I don't do it the first cycle, and maybe I see after results from the first cycle, maybe I want to try something else, and I'll just add a little something, and that's just something that I add. But I would ask your doctor that question and see what about you makes them think that you should try estrase priming, and then make a decision that's right for you. This question is from Steph. Ectopic pregnancy with PGS tested embryo, now waiting for numbers to go down post methotrexate times 2, only 1 embryo left. Should I do another harvest, or what else should I do? Steph, yes, if you have only 1 embryo, depending on how many babies you have at home, if you already have a gaggle of kids at home, go for your transfer. If you don't, please do more cycles now. This is the thing. You may need to work a little bit harder before you prepare for that transfer. Meaning, I want you to consider doing an HSG. I want you to consider doing a Receptiva DX test. If your doctor thinks that there might be endometriosis, consider removing that other tube if it looks funky, so that you're not at risk for another ectopic pregnancy. That's what I would do if it were me. If the doctor says, well, your tube looked normal at the time of laparoscopy, what you have to say is, but did you test it? It might look normal, but did you flush it with fluid? Did you do the tubal dye study? Because oftentimes during surgery for an ectopic, we're not thinking about a patient's fertility, right? We're thinking about, holy smokes, we're going to save her life right now. But no one's going to do a tubal dye study unless, you're a fertility doctor doing the surgery, because that's the stuff that we do, because we're thinking about next steps and how we're going to help you get pregnant next. So that's something to ask your doctor. Next question is, do sperm get old and useless if a guy doesn't ejaculate? And yes, sperm can be super old. That's why I tell people, please don't save up your sperm. That's disgusting. I don't want 2-month-old sperm in a cup. I want sperm that's fresh and alive and sparkling, right? So my recommendation for my patients is to abstain 2 to 4 days before an egg retrieval, and to be having sex or ejaculating every 3 days. And people look at me like I'm insane. They're like, but I read online. I'm like, that's fine. You keep reading online, but I'm going to tell you what I think is going to give you the best chance of having the best freaking sperm on the day of your egg retrieval. And so that's what I think. And I'm not alone in saying that. So this is from Ada, age 29, low AMH. I don't have any water, you guys. I just went to reach for my water. Euploid miscarriage, did a full workup. No issues found. What could have went wrong? I'm so afraid of another loss. Okay, so that's really hard. So have you really done a full workup? Remember, angel method. Look at your anatomy very closely. Nutrition, genetics, endocrine abnormalities, lifestyle. Look at all of it. And at the end of the day, if you've done it all, we know that there are these very special interactions that we can't see with our eyes that occur between the embryo and the uterus. They're completely out of our control. And so I know you're afraid of another miscarriage. Like, who wouldn't be? But I would say if you can do another IVF cycle and get more embryos, especially because you have low AMH, that's what I would do if you can. Okay, this question's from Marianne. Do you repeat a hysteroscopy after doing one to remove retained placenta? And the answer is it really depends, right? So sometimes on ultrasound, you can see these tiny little calcifications that kind of light up, and that's a sign that there might be some more tissue back there, like you removed it and there was still some more behind it that you didn't completely remove. So sometimes it helps to do another hysteroscopy or at least a saline sonogram. So talk to your doctor about whether that's something that they think that you should do. But it's not a one-size-fits-all answer. It's not something we do for everybody. Someone's saying, I wish you were my doctor. That's very sweet. Thank you. Someone is asking, I took PQQ and testosterone and my testosterone went really high to 70. I had low maturation and fertilization rates. Was it because of the testosterone levels? I think PQQ caused it. You know, I have patients that take PQQ and I haven't noticed high testosterone levels. So I'm wondering why your testosterone's high. So look carefully at your supplements. Sometimes people think that they're taking DHA when they're really taking DHEA. I don't know. I doubt you're doing that, but maybe something to think about. Did high testosterone affect my eggs? And the answer is yes. I do think that high testosterone levels can harm eggs. That's why I'm not a fan of all these testosterone priming cycles, because they kind of have me freaked out that the high testosterone is going to affect egg quality, just like what you're describing to me. I know that testosterone levels don't go high in everybody, so if your testosterone's already high and then it's going to go higher, but if it's low or in the medium to low range, taking testosterone shouldn't make it go too high. So it is possible that high testosterone affected your eggs. So strategy to fix it. Ovasitol works great. Depending on your body size, maybe metformin. Look at your insulin levels. Look at your hemoglobin A1C and see if metformin might help. That can also bring down your testosterone levels. So talk to your doctor about what they think as well, and then go from there. So next question is, please, your recommendations with femara and taking supplements. I mean, I would say just make sure you're getting your cycle timed well and that you're going in at the right time. Check your OPK leading up to your follicle check. Have sex leading up to your follicle check. Consider taking progesterone 3 days after your trigger shot and, more CoQ10. Let's see here. 45 nanograms per ml. Is that a good progesterone level on the day of the FET? And say, yes, that's an amazing progesterone. Would you recommend NAC for someone who doesn't have endometriosis? And I'd say yes. There are other reasons to take NAC. It can support egg health, and it can be a good supplement for PCOS. Let me just see. How many questions do you guys have for me? Holy smokes, you guys. I love you guys, but I have to go home at some point. I think the point is going to be now, because I might be getting tired even of myself. So thank you guys for joining me tonight. It is always super fun to hang out with you guys, especially on a Friday night. I feel like we should do this more often. So I'll be back here, guess what? Next week. So Monday night, I'm doing an egg freezing party class. Go to eggwhisperschool.com and I'll probably be here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to answer your questions, because I can't think of anything that would be more fun for me than to be here answering your questions, sometimes making a complete fool of myself, saying things like smurfgina, squeezing your butt cheeks, poop for, shots of tequila. But I hope that I can bring a little bit of joy to what is oftentimes a really sucky situation, and that's called being a fertility patient. So I hope you guys have only practical and positive expectations moving forward, that you guys have figured out a strategy to stomp out the ants, the always negative thoughts. And one more plug for Josephine at Lurie. She has her Empower Your Fertility Journey workshop tomorrow, where she'll teach you how to meditate and how to be more mindful as a fertility patient. She has a ton of great suggestions. So please sign up for her workshop so you can be stronger and more resilient as you're going through fertility treatment. Okay, you guys. Well, thank you for watching. This has been super fun for me. I love each and every one of you. And I hope you guys join me back again next week. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys.